friends. And if we're not, we sure should be. I'll try to get right to the point. I made a video yesterday that was truthful, and I referenced an expose type video I did about 2 years ago, exposing Einstein as the world's greatest plagiarist. Put in there substantial proof, and along with others, that proof is, of course, the real true facts that Einstein was a plagiarist and actually stole E equals mc squared from Olinto de Preto, especially as emphasized by Professor Umberto Bartosi, a mathematician and a historical mathematician. Wrote a book and definitely shows that Olinto de Preto put forward E equals mv squared is what he put, but Einstein knew him, they conversed, and he worked with his cousin in the patent office, Michael Basso, and I have a video that proves Einstein stole de Preto's E equals mv squared, but then it was called E equals mc squared, and they say that's what he did. He put forward E equals mc squared. No, he copied perfectly de Preto's work, which was E equals mv squared, v equal the velocity of light, and then later they would use c. Now, what I do, my policy is that if I make an error, I'll immediately correct it. Or if there's something as far as occurred that I have to correct what somebody else has done, then I try to immediately correct it. Well, I said, well, I should see that part 2 that I'm referencing. So I played the entire part. Well, it really went to part 3 that I recall now. And I said, well, I should review part 3. And then I needed a part 4. Well, in part 4, I really emphasize, for instance, that Einstein, they say, could get away with it, speaking bluntly, because there's no proof. He doesn't mention anybody. So it's his word against like mine or yours or anyone's. No, in my research, I came up with, he did mention one reference in his 1905 papers, and that was Michael Basso. Michael Basso is Olinto de Preto's cousin, and that's who showed him the work, and they would have academic discussions. So de Preto really is who put forward E equals mv squared, E equals mc squared. Now, I conferred with Einstein in 1955. I have that in those videos. Absolutely true facts. And what I want to emphasize now is that in this time, you see, I said that the Jews that were experimented on, those people there in that bad situation, genocide by the crazy nut Hitler, and I could have worked with von Braun, but I said, no, I'm not going to work under a Nazi, no. So Hoover says, hey, now we got that he says he's the best out. Well, I said, okay, I'm going to see. But the only thing that surprised me is that when the Russians beat that criminally insane, murderous Hoover, he experimented the desert. He experimented Americans to death. Brought over Nazi experimenters from over there to over here. He experimented my brother to death, that criminally insane Hoover, and others. He was a woman hater. He was a homosexual, a pedophile. They even showed me I was one woman. That's the real Hoover. He transformed the U.S. into a Hooveristic horrible lies and cover-ups of Einstein, of somebody doing laser, who invented the laser. You put this on a voice stress analyzer. I put forward light-diffusion stimulated electromagnetic radiation. Light-diffusion stimulation and electromagnetic radiation. I took light, I stimulated it with a ruby crystal. I took the EM waves and I put together the science of optical pumping to obtain the EM waves in phase so they get a staccato as far as defense against ICBMs. That they came to me then and says, well, we committed crimes against you with tears in their eyes, water running down their cheeks. What can you do? Because we could be knocked out at the beginning. First time in the history of the U.S. they could lose, and lose even at the beginning of any warfare. Absolute true facts. As I say, you put this on a voice stress analyzer, proves what I'm saying. Absolute true fact. Well, I known, because Hoover didn't want me to be known. And then I didn't care about honors and publicity and money. Just don't murder my brother and others. But Hoover said that's the way I'm number one. Yeah, now they talk about a prism. Where did they get this prism? Hoover was the top of a prism, a pyramid. I'd say pyramid, now they say prism. He was the point, the power, and others were below. And I would circle this at the top issues and give my patriotic work and opinion. And that's the way it was done. I was with Robert Kennedy, the Honorable Senator Robert Kennedy, who would become president. How? I was the gentleman who stood up in his brother-in-law Steve Smith's brain trust sessions in the Ambassador Hotel and said, this is the way I think he has to do it, and if he does, I think he'll win. And that's how he won. Now all he's got to do is keep himself alive. So why two guns and all the shots? Because Hoover never thought Bobby would insultingly turn and walk away from me. I even said it again in front of witnesses, which I can prove. Bobby, you come back the same way, up these circular stairs, come back. And then he went through a commercial kitchen, was gunned down. Hoover never thought I wouldn't be behind him because they'd have to get, if he did it, if he would have done that, they would have had to get me before they could get Bobby, you understand? I can prove I'm the original 007. Absolutely, I have tapes on this. You put this on a voice stress analyzer, say that that is a true fact. My ID is 007, but I used to joke with the girls. And they'd say, oh, you're 007. I said, look, you girls say 007. That's O is a letter. It's in mathematical physics, 007. So then when I went to show my ID, I'd say 00, and they say, oh, we know you, you're 007. And after a while, they'd say, oh, we know you, you're 007. So it started half truth and half as an inside joke, but it took off. And the British that were in with the intelligence of Hoover, who were in with experimenting on my brother to death and my Xerox, I'm from Western New York, worked in the Eastman Code Experimental Development Lab. All these are true facts. I should be one of the most famous, definitely one of the most richest men in the U.S. and the world. I said, I don't want any fame, any money, just don't murder my brother. Now, then after he established that it was others, that he parceled to others and not me, he still murdered my brother. Wow. Do you understand what really is now in this USA? It's a Hooveristic hypocrisy. Not only of Einstein, because I essentially challenged Einstein one-on-one. Nobody could decree that light is the ultimate universal velocity. And I proved it. And he agreed with me. Absolutely. This is in April 1955. But I figured, see, Hoover let that, because I was betting 1,000. Anything I did with Hoover, it would be my way. And he got so angry. He said, all right, this time let's see between him and Einstein who would agree with who. Well, Einstein agreed with yours truly because it is the truth and it is the future of the mathematical physics is my capital C transformation equation. Capital X prime equals capital X minus VT over the square root of 1 minus V squared over capital C squared, where capital C is at least equal to or greater than the velocity of light. He says, you sure? I said, I'm sure. And I went through a theoretical experiment. Absolutely proves it, and he agreed. He says, but they won't let me work with you. They tell me not to work with you. And I suspected that. But can I didn't say Hoover, but I says, but can the force of secret police decide if a scientist can only do what, by who, when? He says, you're right. That surprised me. That's just the way he said it. You're right. He says, I don't care what he says. We're going to work together because I suggested a unified field theory. Now, I have tapes on these. I had about 600. Then I say maybe 400, but for sure 200. Absolutely proof. Can't find them. I can't get them. So some of them I've replaced with retaping. And that's what this one is completion of that part 4, because it was supposed to be 15, 14 something, and it went about 1/3, and then it stopped. Hey, the final proof is Olinto de Pretro put forward E equals mv squared. And that's the way Einstein copied it. They say there's no proof. There is proof. I have established the proof. He gave one reference, Michael Basso. Michael Basso is Olinto de Pretro's cousin, worked with him in the patent office with his senior, explained to him everything. And Professor Umberto Bartosi, a mathematician and historical mathematician, has a book establishing those facts. So he did mention one reference, Michael Basso. You understand? So I have the proof. They still won't let me be known. So I say the crimes of Hoover and those after him, continuing this Hooveristic hypocrisy, has got to be improved. And Lincoln said, look, if they do what's wrong, you have the right to even take arms to correct it. Well, I say it has to be improved. You take arms, they say, hey, you're doing something illegal. I say definitely, of course, it has to be corrected. There have to be reasonable honors and compensation. Give credit where credit is due. Poincare put forward relativity, absolutely. Leonard put forward the photoelectric effect. Where did Einstein get it? His wife worked for Leonard. And when Einstein got that was the only thing he won a Nobel Prize for, was the photoelectric effect. And when he got the money, he gave it all to his wife. What a coincidence, all the way around, you see. Of course, Planck put forward bits of energy. Hilbert, great mathematician, put forward the field equation. Then Einstein, 5 days later, gave a lecture exactly like he did with the Petro, letter for letter. The hype is so great, they say, well, Einstein's a genius. No, Hilbert copied Einstein. Why would one of the world's great mathematicians copy Einstein, who flunked mathematics in the university and couldn't do it for 2 years until Hilbert sent him a copy of his paper, put it forward, and 5 days later Einstein gave a lecture, exact same equations. I went to the Irish Royal Academy of Science to prove my point about universal string theory and to confer with them about a unified field theory. They don't mention it. The only thing he tried that was actually his was a unified field theory, and it was wrong. And he was so stubborn, they finally told him, if you don't take it back, they're going to start questioning your ability, and you're going to lose the other. Then he retracted. They don't even talk about that. All they keep saying that if anything was done, oh, well, Einstein probably thought of it. No, he was the world's greatest plagiarist. Now, this is then the part 4 completion. And I, who I'm say I am. I didn't want money or fame, but the USA is a Hooveristic hypocrisy. And you have to give me credit and reasonable compensation. Thank you.